Yeah. Yeah. Then you'll start to really see.
Oh, hey. Cool.
4 weeks today. Oh my gosh. Beyond.
it's okay with the council, I would ask Brian to just deliver that part of his management report, because I think you'll still probably want to speak, but I think it creates a context.
Sure, that sounds great to me. So I'll discuss it now.
Happy to, Mayor. Thank you, Bob. First, I want to acknowledge the concern being raised. We received several emails over the course of the last week. Fire department call volume has increased significantly over the past decade, and the city's volunteer fire service, which historically supplemented our career staffing, has declined. As a result, right now operates almost entirely as a career fire department, and that operational reality is well understood, certainly by the council and by my office and myself. Since 2017, the city has made significant and intentional investments across four core areas: staffing, supervision, training, and equipment. During that time, we have added career firefighter positions, strengthened on-scene supervision through the addition of lieutenants, invested in training and equipment. These investments reflect a sustained effort to professionalize the department and improve both firefighter safety and service delivery to the community. Following the budget amendment passed by the council at its December 3rd meeting, I want to be clear, the 2026 budget, if adopted as amended right now, will include the addition of one career firefighter. This is a deliberate step, but not an endpoint. It aligns with the longer-term staffing objective that has been discussed internally for several years now. Adding one firefighter per shift and move toward a daily minimum staffing level of 4 firefighters and 1 lieutenant. Several residents have referenced NFPA 1710, which is a nationally recognized and useful benchmark for career fire departments. We take all nationally recognized standards seriously. At the same time, RYE's public safety staffing approach must also account for our unique geography, built environment, critical infrastructure, mutual aid relationships, and current and future development trends. Those local factors are essential to how national standards are applied in practice at the local level. Looking ahead, I will be recommending that the City Council host a public work session on public safety staffing early in the new year. That session will give us an opportunity to review the investments made over the past several years, assess current conditions, and then have a thoughtful multi-year strategy moving forward. And I just want to say I appreciate the public engagement on this issue and look forward to continuing the discussion in a transparent and deliberative way.
Brian, I have a question for you. Right now, we have 22 career firefighters, and we do still have some volunteer participation, but let's just look at the career firefighter number. We have 4 shifts of 4 right now. That accounts for 16 firefighters. So we have another 6 firefighters who are not in the rotation. That is, from let's say we're taking a snapshot at a fixed point in time. They're not in the rotation. They may be doing other things. They may be on vacation, of course. They may be training. They may be sick. How many firefighters do we actually need in order to get to the point where we have 4 shifts of 5? That is 20 firefighters in a snapshot in the shifts, but if we had 1, we have 23 firefighters. We would have 20 firefighters in shift, 3 doing other things. Is that enough, 23 to have 5-person shifts?
So you would need to add more eventually, and this is adding one now is basically a step toward that further effort. The history on this has been contemplated internally for several years now. I've read several memos on it that have been shared with the council. You would need ultimately several additional firefighters in order to achieve that goal. What I think would be helpful, and my understanding is that goal has been discussed with
outgrow consistently, because though the city had been doing that at one point with volunteers, we weren't getting the volunteer turnout anymore that would allow us to comply with that. So it's strictly an historical note right now, but that was step one in what Brian has described as a more ambitious plan.
Dr. Cohn, thanks for that note. I think it's very important because what you're describing and what Brian is describing, and I mean, you're part of it, is a process of adjusting the fire department from a volunteer force to a paid force and integrating the volunteer force that we have into that whole process. I like your recommendation, Brian, of workshopping this early in 26, and I would endorse that. I think we do have to look at our unique geography and how is what we've done, and we've done a lot, Mayor Cohen and your colleagues, starting long before I came to the council, and some of that work's continued while we've been on. And so this is a trajectory towards something I think is important for us to define in 2026 what is the right goal, because now we see how things work. And so I'm very much in favor of that as the next step of the workshop.
Okay, so I hope that's helpful, at least in setting the table.
Sure.
Please, go
Okay.
ahead.
Should I speak into?
Yeah, yes, and please give your name.
Hi, I'm Skylar Johnson. I have been a Rye resident now for over 20 years, and with your permission, I'd like to be able to use my phone for reference. My printer's broken, so.
We do it all the time.
Awesome, thank you. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to address what I had before, just because I try to rework kind of what I was thinking based off of what I do appreciate you sharing. I just think it will kind of mess up with it. So, there was a recent article, as obviously you are all very well aware of, where President of Rye Professional Firefighting, Paul Salco, addressed the fact that they are right now grossly understaffed. I think that replacing that word with the word dangerously rather accurately describes our current situation. On a best case day, Rye has 6 firefighters during the day, and at night that number drops down to 5, which often can mean 4 firefighters are actually on duty based on what's going on, as you know. So what does that mean, right? That kind of sounds like, to your point, a good amount of firefighters. What it actually means is that translates to 1 firefighter manning the Milton Point Firehouse. So that's not great, because that means if there's a call over on that side of town, there's 1 man that shows up and has to man that entire situation until backup arrives. So I can speak to the importance of this particular firehouse being managed properly. 3.5 years ago, my mom went to turn on the car in our driveway, and it burst into flames, and she was stuck inside. We live over in East Park, which you'll note on my address that I wrote down, and had Milton's firehouse actually not came as quickly as they did, and amply staffed, adequately staffed at the time, and able to fight the fire, there's actually no way of knowing how far it would have spread. It's Rye, we all live in postage stamps, right? So a small driveway with a car on fire could lead to major structural fire, which in the summer with green trees and leaves up against the house could mean the next house is on fire before you know it. We're in a serious situation. So them being able to come and assist with the house fires quickly as they did is really all thanks to the Milton Firehouse, because had we been depending strictly on the locust headquarters, they wouldn't have gotten there in time. Those rigs actually ended up coming 15 minutes after I called 911. By that point, Milton Firehouse had done what they needed to do, and they were just really there as backup. On another note, 10 years ago, I was driving home from college, and I was struck by an 18-wheeler truck on the highway, and I flipped and spun across all 3 lanes, and it was actually Rye firefighters who came to my rescue. I was less than 10 minutes from home. It was exit 12 on Street 7. So I just think it's important to also recognize that it's not just fires that we're fighting, which brings me to my next point, which is they're also training in swift water, as you know. I'm not sure actually, what's it called? Swift water rescue. They actually saved a client of mine's dog from an icy pond last winter. So the truth is, it really goes beyond just fires, and it covers all sorts of disasters, and somehow I find it difficult that it's still kind of up for question on whether or not more men are needed, but again, this was written before I knew that you've already been talking about it for a while, which I find great comfort in. So I guess my main takeaway is, do we need to wait for something tragic to happen to address the fact that we just need more? And one is a great place to start, right? I ran the numbers, and $2 a month for 1 additional firefighters per household, and that's for all 4. Now, these are numbers that were given to me. I don't know if they're accurate, but if they are, that feels pretty nominal, and we are the second wealthiest suburb in the United States of America. So I have a hard time believing that that would be a difficult number for households to reach in order to keep us safe as a community. So I thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Thanks. Victoria McMahon.
I'm following up on what Snyder has said on acoustic as opposed to my
Could you just say your name for the record?
Victoria McMahon.
Thank you.
Okay, so under NFPA 1710, which is the nationally recognized standard for career fire departments, my fire department should be able to deploy 16 firefighters within 10 minutes of a structure fire. At the moment, Rye cannot meet that standard, despite being one of the busiest fire departments in Westchester. Our Milton firehouse is usually staffed with just 1 firefighter, as has been mentioned already, which serves everywhere south of Cavan Parkway, including water rescue. NFPA standards advise for every 2 firefighters inside of a structure fire, there should be 2 outside who can help if the firefighters inside get into trouble. As it stands, that 1 firefighter from Milton will respond to a structure fire and will have to wait for backup from HQ on Milton. So, to illustrate that, what that looks like practically is 1 firefighter could show up to a burning house with a mom outside crying that her child is still in the house. So that firefighter would have to make a decision. Do they go in alone and potentially put themselves at risk as well as the child in the building, or do they wait for backup to come from town? I personally know a lot of firefighters, and I think I know what the answer to that question is. They would put themselves in danger. Another important point to note is that fire doubles every 30 seconds. So even 1 minute delay could be the difference between saving someone and a worse outcome, which doesn't bear thinking about. The few of the firefighters on the scene is slower for response. Even something like attaching a hose to a hydrant is really a 2-person job. If there's 1 firefighter, that person has to run up to 800 feet, attach the hose, and then run back to start fighting the fire, which, again, fire spreading at a rate of doubling every 30 seconds. Also, as mentioned, the Milton Firehouse covers water rescue. There is a boat, but the 1 firefighter has to take their engine to any call out, because if there is another call from that scene, they have to be able to get to it. They cannot physically drive the boat and the engine themselves. So what happens is they go with the engine to the water rescue and then have to wait for HQ to go to Milton to pick up the boat and then go and meet them. If someone is drowning or one of the clubs, we're really taking risks here. So I'm asking the council to please consider funding 4 additional firefighters, which is what we need. 1 is not enough. And to Skyler's point, it's not that much per household, and we can all afford it. And I think we all deserve it, and the firefighters also deserve not to be put at risk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just clarify, there's never 1 firefighter like involved himself. We're calling mutual aid, there's like, I'm just trying to make sure that that scenario.
Well, if the first, if a single company is the first to arrive, if there's simultaneous calls. Yeah, but it's never intended to be that,
Have we ever had that happen?
I couldn't,
Well, I think Skylar just told us there was an incident, but what is, Skylar also told us that there was a 15-minute lag on headquarters response. Skylar Johnson, forgive me for just calling you by your first name. What is our expected time for our full complement of trucks to be on scene?
we have
situation that his group was facing required additional support. And so then there's dispatch, and then there's another, what is it, 45 minutes?
That's, on average, it can, that can, depend on several factors, locations, the department that's probably not at age, et cetera.
In the towns that were involved with this mutual aid arrangement, what are those?
Several Harrison, Portchester, there's a very robust mutual aid agreement that the commissioner has led.
So pretty close by as far as
Yeah.
the Point area or Lee Village?
Okay. We will, I'm sure, come back to this in the budget discussion. Angelo Scarfone, Gagliardo.
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Angelo Cohn, council member, and everyone here tonight. My name is Angelo Cohn, and I'm here to talk about Gagliardo. Over the years, I've watched parks around the city get improved, renovated, celebrated. I'm glad they are. But when it comes to Gagliardo Park, what I've seen is the complete opposite. We don't get upgrades, we actually get things taken away. The slides get removed, merry-go-round gets removed, and piece by piece, it feels like we keep losing the things that made the park a real park for kids and families. And I understand safety, I understand liability. If something isn't safe, it shouldn't stay. But what's frustrating, and honestly, what feels unfair, is that the removals don't come with replacements. It feels like the community is being told, be happy with less. We have a small rock climbing playground that was installed, and I have a photo of it. And I'm not trying to knock anybody's pass that around. You know, I appreciate the effort and everything, but I feel like it's a half-assed gesture. You know that? Whatever that is, it's some playground.
Do you know the background on that, Angelo?
No, I don't. I love to know.
I want to give you that background because that is the number one issue on the Rye recreation priority list. This whole council knows, and we toured Gagliardo. We are 100% committed to fixing Gagliardo. We got a donation of some equipment, and so we were like, let's just use it and at least put it to use in places as a temporary stopgap. That is not meant to be a
Right.
whatever. So I just want you to know that this was an attempt to add while we have a much more comprehensive plan for which there is one for Gagliardo. So we are all aligned.
I appreciate that.
Right, the time frame when we found out that we were getting the donation, the time that was installed, it seemed like it was done within days.
Right.
So, we're behind.
It's meant as a stopgap, not as
I
a,
understand that too.
not as a,
Gotcha. Okay, that's good to know. Well, I'm gonna keep going. Gagliardo is personal to me. I grew up in that area. And the condition of that park for years has kind of been a symbol of my entire middle school and high school experience because of how ignored that side of town felt. This is not just about swings and slides. It's about what we're communicating to our kids and our families. Basically saying that my side of the neighborhood deserves less. Right? So I'm here tonight to ask for something simple, something big at the same time. The simple thing is to stop the pattern of removing stuff without replacing it. And the big idea is to commit to a real comprehensive renovation plan for Gagliardo Park. Not a patchwork and not a half-assed measure. I'm talking about a plan that matches the scale of the need. A park renovation that's done right, accessible, safe, modern, and built to last. If that means a multi-million-dollar, multi-year plan, then that's the conversation that we need to have. Because anything else is just a temporary band-aid. It's unacceptable. And I'm not just here to complain, I'm here to work. I understand that there's a recreation committee, and I know Rick McCabe is a part of that, and I'm formally volunteering myself tonight to be a part of that effort in any way possible. I want to be involved in the rebuild process from start to finish, from planning to outreach, fundraising, and keeping the community informed. Because community involvement is the missing piece, we can create Facebook groups and social media pages, a central hub where residents can get updates on meetings, decisions, design, and timelines. That way there's no confusion and no excuses later. Everyone will have a clear way to participate, get feedback, and stay informed. I want to talk about funding too, because I know that that's always a question. We should explore fundraising and outside support, grants, corporate sponsorships, county resources, and community events. I'm willing to help organize larger events like bringing back the Summerfest, not just as entertainment, but as a community-driven way to raise funds and attention for park redevelopment. So tonight I'm asking the city for clear next steps, a public commitment that Gagliardo Park is a priority, a timeline for planning and updates, a transparent process for community input and design, and finally, a real budget plan that reflects what it will take to rebuild the park the right way. Gagliardo Park shouldn't be a park that we quietly accept as good enough. It should be a point of pride. Kids on every side of the city deserve the same level of investment and care. I'm frustrated, yep, but I'm also ready. I'm ready to work with you guys, ready to rally the community, and ready to make sure Gagliardo Park becomes a park that we can all be proud of. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for volunteering.
Thank you.
Meeting, I would see you before, but please come, because this has been public, it has been plans presented, people have weighed in on those, so I think we just need to inform you of what's already underway, because I think you will be pleasantly surprised.
I'll be there.
All right.
We've been interviewing comprehensive planning that the city's committed to moving forward with comprehensive planning starting in 2026. Gagliardo Park will be part of that work. Independent of that, I know that the city has made applications for grants, I believe they're pending. So there's a lot going on, as Billy pointed out. There's some rough draft plans the rec department has. So there's a conversation going on, and I welcome you to come and participate. You and I have met about this, and I look forward to meeting with you again. And I'm glad you came and spoke. Everyone should be heard about it. You're getting heard. It's an important project. It's an important feature, and I don't plan on ignoring it. I don't think the community has that intention.
Thank you, Josh.
So, Ms. French.
Mayor, Council, the French Food is a better place. Over there. It does show you how old you got. That's but I didn't want the last meeting of the year and the last meeting for some of you on the base to go unnoticed and just recognize your contributions. You talk about volunteers, you are volunteers, and you can see the difficult challenges that you face, the decisions you have to make. It's a tough job, but it's extremely rewarding. As I walk in town, I see all the things that I've touched. It's very rewarding. It may seem difficult when you're in the fray, but I think those of you that are coming off, thank you for your contributions. Those that are staying on, thank you for your contributions. I think it'll never be as popular as day one after election day. And the good news is after I speak, I get to go home. But your contributions, the city is in great shape. It looks great. It's a very unique community. And it's your volunteer contributions, and the thing's good. And we get to look at solutions. And I remember being on the chair of the Rye Neck Commission, going back down to the art. They did this stop gap back then. So I do think that the planning, Nathan, is a good idea. We need some structure back in the city. But again, these are volunteer positions, long hours, personal time, and I just felt that you should really recommend this for your contribution.
I remember the moment.
I remember the day.
Yeah, me too. 2016. You would come home late from work, exhausted, and you were decompressing as you told me the way so many of us do, with a beer and a city council rerun on the television. The next morning, you asked me a simple question about a proposed cell phone tower installation. And that one question really changed everything. What started as curiosity quickly became action. Josh went on to organize more than 1,500 residents to oppose Crown Castle's sweeping installation of a gas node network across our city. And in that effort, we saw the first clear glimpse of the leader that you would become. Somebody who listened carefully, digs into the details, and is willing to do the hard, often unglamorous work required to protect our community. When you were elected mayor in a landslide victory, I had the privilege of serving as your deputy mayor. From that vantage point, I watched those qualities play out day after day. You were always present. You returned phone calls. You answered emails. You listened to residents, even when those conversations were difficult and uncomfortable. And you worked tirelessly to translate what you heard into thoughtful, principled policy. You lead with discipline. You understand that good governance requires fiscal responsibility, not just good intentions. You created the Finance Committee, and under your leadership and Joe Casino's hard work, our city was restored to excellent financial footing, a legacy that will benefit residents long after tonight. You're also meticulous and deeply thoughtful in your decision-making. Even when I disagreed with a particular decision, I trusted it because I knew it was informed, deliberate, and guided by an unwavering commitment to what you believed was right for this community. That commitment is rooted in integrity. You do not govern by convenience. You govern by principle. You stand by your convictions, even when doing so is hard and even when it comes at personal cost. For 8 years, you gave the city everything that you had, around the clock, without pause. Through COVID, and people describe those regular emails that you sent during that time as a lifeline, and they look forward to them every week. Through devastating storms like Ida and others that didn't have names but destroyed the central business district and swaths of Indian Village and other parts of the city, those moments commanded leadership, steadiness, and sacrifice. I think you came down from a hike somewhere in the Northeast to be here for one of the impending storms. So much of that sacrifice was unseen, and so much of it was borne by your values. Later tonight, you will give us your mayoral message, and hopefully you're going to describe the many accomplishments of your administration, because they are many, and you are right to do so. I will suffice it to say that we recognize that all those accomplishments exist because you are willing to lead decisively, thoughtfully, and with utmost dedication. On behalf of this community, thank you. Thank you for your leadership, your integrity, and your tireless dedication to the people you serve. The city is a better place because of you. And before closing, I would also like to recognize 2 outgoing members of the City Council whose service to the city deserve our thanks. First, Julie, you served 2 terms on this council with incredible passion, dedication, and persistence. I'm not taking responsibility for your problems. I'm just kidding. Although I do remember that conversation at Starbucks. You brought energy and heart to your work, and you cared deeply about both residents and city staff. Each year, Julie takes it upon herself to organize the staff holiday lunch. It's a small but meaningful tradition that reflects your appreciation for the people who keep the city running. It's impossible to do a highlight reel of your 8 years, but I think on a personal level, one of your greatest accomplishments was your ability to recruit people to serve, volunteers on our commissions and our boards in parties, and we are better off because of all of those efforts. As a liaison to the Rye Neck Commission, you were also the driving force behind the Ministry Field Serve project. And through your determination and steady advocacy, you pushed that project forward. And today it stands as, in my opinion, the biggest success and incredible lasting asset for our city. So thank you. Phil, you served 1 term on the city council, and we overlapped for 1 year. You brought a thoughtful and measured approach to the work. You were often asked to take on issues that were not in your natural areas of focus, bootstraps, sustainability, trees, but you did so willingly, putting in the time to hear from residents and help shape policy in a
Josh was running for a second term, a voter told me, "Josh Cohn, I'd never vote for that so-and-so." I asked her why. She described a hazardous situation outside her apartment building and said she called the city a number of times to talk to Josh, but no one ever put her through. She'd spoken to the former city manager, but nothing had been done. So I called Josh on his cell phone and put her on. She began by chewing him out. After a while, the conversation became calmer. Finally, she handed the phone back to me. A couple of weeks later, I asked Josh, "Did you ever get back to that lady?" You can see by her look that we don't remember this. He said he hadn't. I said, "Well, don't you think you should give her an update when the city will look into her problem?" "Oh no, we fixed it already," he said. That's Josh in a nutshell. He was focused solely on helping a resident get what she needed from the city. Even though he was in the middle of a fiercely contested battle for re-election, it didn't occur to him to try and gain a vote for his efforts. Someone once described his approach as humble commitment to hard work, and that's exactly right. Julie showed up for meetings, perfectly prepared and laser focused on the matter at hand. Most people have no idea that she'd often come straight from the airport after a business meeting in one foreign country or another. At times, she was in the middle of a huge work deal. At times, she was running on 4 hours sleep. But no matter what, she gave every bit of council business her full attention, her keen intellect, and her passionate desire to see the council do the right thing. Her selflessness and dedication are mind-boggling. So thank you, Josh and Julie, for 8 years of extraordinary service to our community. Thank you to Bill Henderson for your 4 years of service. And good luck to all of you.
Report of the city manager.
This will be brief, as I gave relevant project updates at our last meeting. Just to notice there's some utility work that's going to be happening in the building. We'll be working on Center Street tomorrow between 8 and 3 p.m. And we'll also be working on sections of the 719. We please be aware of the workers and monitor the possible congestion associated with the work. Since we're thanking people tonight, I want to acknowledge that Sophie Diamond completed 24 years of service with Rye Recreation last week. She was a tennis attendant for many years, but she probably is best known for her role with Rye Seniors, driving the senior bus, chaperoning events, and managing really the execution of on-site events. She developed many lasting friendships, both on city staff and within the community, and I just wanted to publicly thank her for her service and express my personal gratitude tonight. They had a celebration for her last week. Our deputy mayor was in attendance to provide a proclamation from the mayor. It was a very nice event, so thank you for that. Rye Rock holiday programming. Rye Rock will be hosting a number of short camps over the holidays. Detailed on these camps can be found on the city website and the Rye Rock section brochure. One camp being offered this year is an educational level robotics camp for grades 1 through 5. Again, you can register for this and other winter camps on the Community Pass website, which is accessible to the city website. Holiday hours for city offices. City offices will close at 12 p.m. on Wednesday, December 24th, and will be closed all day on Thursday, December 25th. The city offices will also close at 12 p.m. on Wednesday, December 31st, and will be closed all day on January 1st. And that is all I have for this update.
Thank you, Brian.
Can I just ask you one question, Brian, in the report? That was great. I thought you did, Julie, that was wonderful. Seems to me last
Someone said I should just do a list. As I'm looking at the clock, I'm thinking maybe that's the case, but here goes. So 8 years, so much in the rearview mirror. I often said it when first running for office, and I meant it, and tried to live by it. I'm not now, nor have I ever been a politician. That has worked well, and then sometimes profoundly not. Here I find myself wishing to do something politician-ish, or maybe it's just humor. That is, to close out with a retelling of some of the things that went well. That will be the major theme of this talk, with a partially repressed minor in things that went not so well. Let me emphasize that I'll refer to things that happened during my tenure. I make no claim that I did them. Municipal accomplishment is a team effort. It takes staff and all the appointed and elected volunteers that make up our government. I get to catalog the good stuff, but I can't claim I've done it. For a somewhat different tack, please refer to my February 26th mayor's message on the city website under the government and mayor tabs. So, first, zoning. Over the past 8 years, we've finished 3 zoning text amendments, 2 zoning code restrictions, and 1 related change to the scope of authority of the Board of Architectural Review. The first text amendment we did was requested for the initial benefit of the YMCA, seeking to use the empty Mrs. Human's grocery building for yoga and exercise studios. We said yes, knowing that we might be compounding parking issues. We took that risk to accept needed change, though we still struggle with the parking pressure, and yes, a parking study is needed, either within the comprehensive plan or alongside it. The second zoning text amendment allowed new uses of what had for decades been the Avon building at the corner of Peck and Midland. After many hearings and much negotiation with the new owners of the property, we approved new uses that have proven to allow the leasing of the existing building to New York blood centers. Although some residents living nearby were quite concerned, it appears that the facility has brought new life and new personnel to the long-empty building without disruption. My compliments to the Rye-based purchasers of the Avon property, led by Peter Duncan, who worked hard to make this good for Rye. The third zoning text amendment was for the Osborne, enabling it to begin planning the new buildings and renovations. It says that it needs to stay competitive. This effort was interrupted by COVID and extended by our wrongly, in hindsight, asking the Osborne to rush to present a premature and hypothetical design. The design increased neighbor antipathy. After more than 20 public sessions of Planning Commission and City Council, a much revised zoning text passed. This was followed by a baseless suit by neighbors alleging environmental law. After so many years of delay, the Osborne determined to make small border concessions to settle the suit so that it could proceed with design. The Osborne provides a tremendous service to aging Rye residents and to aging relatives of Rye residents who move here to be close to family, as well as a local rehab facility. It's good that the Osborne will stay. Our new zoning restrictions were on flag lot development and steep slope development. Accompanying these restrictions was an expansion of Board of Architectural Review jurisdiction to allow the board to consider the orientation of structures on their lots to limit sideways houses. This trio of provisions was originally suggested by Planning Commission Chair Nick Everett. That dovetailed with a consensus separately arrived covenant restriction echoed this tree protection theme. That is, steep slope properties previously too difficult or expensive to develop had provided welcome green patches that would disappear, yielding greater development, density, and environmental pressures. The fish that got away was the comprehensive plan, just now approaching initiation. We deferred it through COVID, through IDA, and through the follow-on period of heavy staff commitments. More than a year ago, 2 council members and I presented, consistent with the city planner's advice, consistent with the city planner's advice, that council immediately appoint a committee of Rye residents to choose the consultant and meet indoor. This council instead wanted to choose the consultant for the committee before appointing the committee, and here we are just interviewing consultants. I wish our successors good luck with the plan and the zoning amendments that may follow. I hope many residents will participate in the process, but with the knowledge that comprehensive plans generally are macro in outlook and don't provide the detailed direction some desire. Flooding. We did great with this. Say what? You say? We laid the foundation for easing Rye flood risk. But in doing that, we learned that easing will require continued civic attention over many years. Why? First, Mother Earth put what is now Rye 400 feet lower than where Blind Brook begins, now the Westchester River. Then the hand of man laid out our little town along the brook, unknowing that later people would render much of the 11 miles upstream impervious, with fast-draining roads, parking lots, 2 superhighways, and airport runways, all having the brook as a flash flood-prone storm drain. And that brook is girdled with undersized bridges, culverts, and channels that each become dams spreading floodwaters laterally. To fix this requires the cooperation of upstream neighbors, many projects, the studies needed to support funding for the projects, and the massive funding to pay for it all. If I may, could you close the door, Brian? I see some of the audience is getting chilly. So with respect to flooding, how have we done in our moment? We sponsored our own upstream engineering study and worked with New York State Department of Environmental Conservation on a study of projects to do in Rye. We asked DEC for a similar Beaver Swamp Brook study, also complete. The Blind Brook upstream study convinced us that we must slow floods upstream before they reach Rye. We conceptualized a project on the SUNY Purchase campus that's on hold due to campus hesitation and the recent termination of the FEMA program that might have funded it. We're tackling the replacement of the Locust Avenue Bridge, that's half funded, and DEC has assigned funds to the county, specifically to replace the county-owned Oakland Avenue and Glenland Parkway bridges. We commissioned a study to see if channel improvements, possibly with a water retention aspect, can be done for the benefit of the Y, the library, and the city, in conjunction with Locust Avenue bridge replacement. And we've installed stream gauges on Blind Brook to help program the Bowman Dam sluice gate. We mucked out some of over Bowman Pond, and we improved Milton Road stormwater drainage with old New York Rising funds. We started preliminary discussions regarding a possible rebuild of the Brook Culvert under the Boston Post Road near the high school. We've achieved Army Corps recognition as suitable for its initial level of study, and our senators down in Washington have obtained part of the funds needed if we choose to begin. We're in touch with our neighbors on flooding in the county, and we're participating in the revived Long Island Sound Watershed Intermunicipal Council. With Ida, we witnessed, along with brook flooding, the overflow of our aged stormwater drainage system. We've invested more than $1 million in improvements, but that's just the beginning. Is all this a lot or a little? It's a lot. We now have a plan backed by studies. That represents much time and money spent to qualify for the funding Rye will need in the future. But in truth, all we've done is what's needed to move this generational project, city administration by city administration, forward. Public safety, fire department, and police department. We've had good fortune and cooperation in our necessary conversion from volunteer command to career firefighter command. Our thanks are due to Volunteer Chief Bokikio for his continued leadership and huge contribution of time and energy. Thanks to retired Captain McGuire for his work in keeping our combination department together, and now to Captain Pitts for his professional efforts at the helm. I've been quoted in the press as questioning whether our vast career firefighter hiring in my time has been sufficient to allow the city to diminish reliance on overtime. I am for at least one additional firefighter previously proposed, subject to the budget discussion we're about to have. As for our police department, it weathered well the Albany mandated review several years ago, with our police advisory committee a welcome addition to our galaxy of volunteer committees. Our police department, like our fire department, is well liked for its demeanor and well respected for its professionalism. I hope our budget session today will provide for adding a police hire to help ensure efficient delivery of services. Our PD and FD are capably supervised by Public Safety Commissioner Mike Coby. We're grateful for the years Mike has spent with the city. Though he doesn't look the part, Mike is a unicorn. He's that rare combination that our city charter requests, one with both police and fire expertise. Now that our fire department leadership is trained to spec, if Mike ever leaves us, it may be that we revert to separate police department and fire department command. That's TBD. Nursery field. Thank you to the parents group that raised the funds and fought the battle to get this done. It wouldn't if you hadn't. Those of us who supported the project on the council did our best to make sure that we answered to the extent possible all concerns. It's a beautiful field. So far I've heard nothing but compliments, but for one problem that I hope the field users' parents can solve. Cars must leave the parking lot on time to allow those next on the field to get in. It's not fair to the field's neighbors otherwise. Let's make this work. Capital program. This is a tough one. I take pride in the council response to stated need and in the concept, but execution, no. In 2018, we, mostly a new council, were introduced to the capital plan, literally a book of projects badly in need of doing. I think we shocked city staff by saying we do the most pressing, though the projects were hardly sexy. A new DPW garage, a new salt shed, etc. Aha, the politicians laugh. But we were not politicians, and if the project needed doing, we were there to make it happen. Of course, we had no clue that COVID was around followed quickly by Ida, and we had no idea that our commitment to help clean the sound by settling our Save the Sound DEC lawsuits would require $14 million in sewer work and additional demands. We successfully bonded to build our projects, but then we didn't. We did get the new Disbro fuel depot done, and the environment will thank us. But the salt shed, now 2 years past groundbreaking, is still not done. The new garage bids came in way over budget, and after a long pause, we will see a new plan tonight. City Hall HVAC has at last been bid, with staging to start in early January. And the new or renovated courthouse police station, well, we have some ideas. Top secret, to be taken up with the Office of Court Administration in January. Yes, we did amazing things, including Nursery Field, but our bonded for projects languish. Along the way, we saw progress reports that in retrospect appear as fantasy. We didn't spend bond money, and we paid arbitrage penalties that reduced investment income. But more importantly, the projects all but become more and more expensive. The lesson, get the work to which we're committed done. If there are problems, air them immediately. If our project needs exceed our staff capacity, either add staff or take on the consultants temporarily needed to succeed. Having dollars vaporized by time and inflation is wrong. I believe our city manager and staff know this and will do what is needed. A different case has been the Forest Avenue sidewalk. We secured the needed grant, but with it came the task of getting DOT approvals throughout an extended design process that has taken, yes, 7 years. I trust that the same renewed energy behind our capital program soon will make this truly neighborhood-changing project a reality. Finances. Scoff not, I'm going to speak well of our finances in a year with a larger than usual tax increase. Notice that phrase, usual tax increase. Why usual? Because the city is simply a service provider with limited sources of revenue. It's subject to the same material, fuel, and labor cost increases as the rest of the world. We've been lucky in getting grants, fair in increasing fees and fines, and reticent in increasing taxes in an environment where inflation ran wild and affordability became a political trope. We hadn't yet found a way to levy tariffs. Now, let's just sit down and take it. And so, we present tonight a conservative tax increase, just enough to fund the city as is, though some of us may favor an addition to allow staff enhancement in what is our primary responsibility, public safety. Environmental, put aside flooding and resilience. We don't get many kudos for it, but we made a huge environmental investment, about $14 million in settling the Save the Sound and DEC suits against the city by agreeing to renovate and better maintain our sanitary system. We initiated this as a matter of principle, not knowing exactly what would be involved until we completed the required sewer system study. The settlement process ultimately dictated years of work accomplished with state funding. Thank you, Steve Odo, Shelley Mayo, and Gov. And much resident frustration as roads were torn open. Rye's sewage leakage into the Sound is now diminished. Unfortunately, we find ourselves subject to a Save the Sound bureaucracy that appears overbearing and manipulative in its efforts to exact continuing concessions from a city doing its best. Mentioned as a capital project is City Hall HVAC, replacing the current 60-year-old energy wasteful heating and cooling system for this building and installing LED lighting. This $3 million project would be a big energy saver and provide for greater comfort for building occupants. For the trees we all love, post flag lot and steep slope restrictions, we strengthened our tree law. We intended to be moderate, and whether we were too moderate was being looked at by city staff and through 2026's natural resource inventory. Maybe there's more to do. We re-enlisted with Tree City USA, and we actually have a city tree planting program that accounted for 283 new trees in 2024. The city is using EVs and electric-powered equipment to the extent practicable. We reviewed city property suitability for solar power collection and came up short on an expense basis. I hope we'll continue to reassess. A start needs to be made on coastal resilience issues that will intensify with sea level rise. Labor contracts. We started with expired contracts and we finished with contracts in place for another 3 years. We turned a corner several years ago by doing away with some unhelpful idiosyncrasies. With our contracts regularized, we can fit more easily into the bargaining norms prevailing across comparable municipalities. Roads, yes, they're better. By dint of our decision to have consultant engineering guidance on how much annual investment is needed to maintain an improving trend and on which streets to spend that money each year, entirely without any politics. Boat basin. Dead as a dodo, a predecessor by official said. Not so. With a combination of boat basin commission tenacity. A thank you here to Joe Cohn and his predecessor of blessed memory, Robert November, and financial and managerial insight from city staff. We managed a dredge that has more than saved the boat basin. But as the saying goes, silt happens. Before long, another expensive dredge will be needed. On our way to our dredge, we fought a hard but losing battle to keep the Coast Guard maintaining Milton Harbor channel markers. Our senators were particularly helpful, but it will not be until we dredge a little deeper that we can retire our city-maintained markers. Cell towers. Yes, we defeated the onslaught of mini cell towers that once threatened our streets, and that was the right thing to do, even acknowledging our ever-increasing desire to rely on devices. Why? Because the Public Service Commission, in its wisdom, approved withdrawal of the copper wire landline system that provided communications despite power failures. Substitutes, voice over internet service, mini cell towers do not work during power failures. Rye wants more cellular facilities that are generated supported. Though we've added 2 such facilities, city staff continues to try to find a provider to add appropriate facilities in areas desiring more service. Con Edison storm prep. Who remembers? Unfortunately, I do. I remember at least 3 major storms that produced lengthy power outages. Riley, Quinn, and Isaias. I joined an ad hoc group of public officials that called itself United Westchester. On the executive committee, I participated in fact-finding, report producing, and testifying. We brought change. The lights still go out, but they come on again sooner. Now Con Ed must bring in some of the emergency help it needs in advance and must have extra trucks available to be crewed by linemen flying in from afar rather than driving their own rigs to get here. That's why you see a tented staging area going up in the playland parking lot in advance of major storms rather than in the days following. Con Ed is also supposed to be storm hardening the system. I understand that is the purpose of the new brawnier wooden poles getting planted around town. Quality of life laws, revised rock chipping and blasting laws came out of the controversial development of 95-97 Oakland Beach, along with the flag lot and steep slope restrictions. These tighter controls on traumatic excavation techniques were designed with consulting engineer input and hopefully make the harsh fact of Rye life, building on rock, a little easier for neighbors to bear. We've also tried to improve gas leak blower regulation on the way to an all-electric world, a matter still needing work. COVID, obviously a disaster, but let me pull some good things from it. Rye residents confronted it together in many ways, from the Love Rye campaign to the hand-sewn masks. The city had a lot to do, from reinventing City Hall in virtual form to trying to enforce bewildering state mandates on everything from in-person businesses to finding recreation. Creating Purchase Plaza, outdoor dining on Purchase Street, was a heavy lift. We modified and condensed the street closure twice, each time requiring traffic flow and signage to meet state law. Same for pedestrian safety and emergency access rules. Purchase Plaza was difficult to do, and not everyone liked it, but it was important to do what was needed. It was important to do what we could to voice some of our businesses, and many residents enjoyed the outdoor social space in that confining time. And some may remember, I know someone did, my broadly distributed emails intended to keep us all in some form of touch, if not together. Finally, Board of Ethics. What's the good part? Well, the General Counsel of the New York Conference of Mayors sent a great letter setting out general principles that our board should adopt, and I hired the lawyer that General Counsel recommended, who wrote his own letter that brings those principles down to our experience. We now start to know what we should. It's crystal clear. It's not a jump ball. But on the downside, where are the ethics from the board and its supporters that can acknowledge their errors? We still have some meeting to take care of, unfortunately. I apologize for the length of this. But I'll say my goodbye now. There's so much more that I could have spoken about tonight, a rich mix of all the things that make up our city. It will all be in the movie. Good luck to those continuing on the council. My thanks to city staff. Thank you, Rye, for allowing me to serve as your mayor.
Sorry, people are leaving. Mayor
not building 5 on our maps, building 2, but we'll call it building 5 for good time's sake. But we did, last year around this time, open bids for a project. Those bids came in higher than we were willing to move forward with. So we went back to the drawing board and came up with a new concept to meet city needs and also hopefully show some enhancement to the park for the public use. So with us is our design architect, Tom Castelline, will stand next, and he's going to quickly walk us through these concepts.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Share button here, and hopefully that will work. So this establishing shop here, I'm sorry, let me validate. Has this come through successfully?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, I should also start by saying thank you very much to the council. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to give you a glimpse into these new concepts. I had no idea that this project was going to, setting up this discussion or this presentation would be part of the mayor's discussion, but it is indeed part of the story. So here is the DPW facility nestled amongst the recreational facilities in Disborough Park. This is the subject building of the previous project was sited directly over the building 5. Certainly the need for new facilities still exists. This building, I believe, is going to be turning 100 years old in the coming year, and has a lot of functional obsolescence. And then this building has the department, some departmental offices in it, as well as some shops. And so yes, as Ryan has said, the bid results last year were disappointing, but we've been working with the department to come up with some solutions here that can embody some cost-effective changes and still appropriately accommodate the DPW's needs. So the primary move here in seeking cost-effective solutions is to approach the construction of these 2 buildings with base them off of a pre-engineered metal building. Pre-engineered metal building. Sure.
Because we do have the backstory on this, so if we could just
Okay.
quickly go through
Sure.
the changes on this,
Sure.
because this isn't meant to be the fulsome discussion on it either, it's just meant to be a quick preview.
Preview.
So
Okay.
I didn't want you to think you have to get the whole backstory. I spent a lot of time here and just we have like a few minutes allocated for this in the agenda.
Very good. Okay. So go with pre-engineered metal building structure. Those are inherently more cost-effective in doing that approach. Those are really primarily single-story buildings, so we're looking to split the building program into 2 components. Vehicle storage garage that sits on the site of current building 5 and a new administration building on this site. Programmatically, this essentially takes most of the second floor program that existed in the previous project, offices towards the front, crew space in the rear, still has a multi-purpose meeting room intended to be used as crew space, break room, marshalling area, but also available for meetings. Now here on the first floor of this building, opening up to possibilities for greater flexibility of use. A shop area, replacing the shops that exist in the current facility, and in this portion over here, facing out towards the ball field, propose a covered patio area that can integrate into recreational activities, possible location of concession stands on this patio, and these greenish tone facilities here are pairs of public restroom facilities that can serve the public during events happening in the park. There's a mechanical loft in the building for accommodating equipment, and the garage is pretty straightforward garage, just trying to maximize covered space for vehicles. We've developed some exterior concepts in terms of what the building would look like. It's still fundamentally the typical pitched roof, pre-engineered building shape, but with some enhancements and design thought put into the buildings, so that it still has a kind of welcoming civic presence within the park.
Wait, what does this do ultimately, like from a price perspective? Not detailed answer, but is it?
Well, we're based on some information that we have direct from pre-engineered metal building contractors. We think that this project can aim for a construction budget of around $8.5 million, plus or minus. We'd be aiming for trying to keep it below 9. There are some programmatic things that were in the previous project that are not slated for this. Not doing solar PV installation at this time, although we would specify the capacity of the roof structure to be able to bear the load of solar PV panels in the future. Also a simplified HVAC system. Both of those can contribute significantly just in terms of scope removal. This is a view from the other side. This would be constructed in conjunction with a new parking area where the current salt dome is. And this is a view of the main public entrance.
So I'm sorry, so how much are we saving versus what we did in the original building? Assuming that these come in where we did
Right, $2.5 to $3 million. About a 25% reduction in cost is what we're aiming for.
Yeah, the bids came in around 12, and we had about $1 million baked in soft cost now, so we had a $13 million expenditure there. So this would be somewhere in the 8 range. That's with contingencies. That's with a bunch of site work that potentially could contribute to, but that's where we're.
What are we losing compared to what we would have had if we spent
gain publicly accessible bathrooms, you gain first floor use, no elevator, no stairway. The public needs a multi-purpose room for a special meeting, you can use it. Covered porch area for the Little League field, if you want picnic tables out there. Maybe the parking lot has, maybe the playground in the back of it. So this opens up, I think, more co-use of property. It keeps public works where it needs to be, but gives the public a little bit more than it had in the original plan. But programmatically, same amount of desks, same amount of lockers as the old plan had, just in two different rooms.
I guess what I would say, I don't want to belabor this because this is successful, is my advice would be, number one, is let's just like, let's go to market, let's get a bid, because this is working as well. I mean, this stuff is, like, it's ridiculous that we, like, things that just languish and they only get more expensive with age. So my advice, not gonna be to approve it, but let's just go for it, get a plan, and like, onward. Thank you, Tom.
Save some of the old brick, make it nice. Base for a sign and say, Ryan's house.
Thank you, Tom, thank you. All right.
You're very welcome.
All right.
Good evening.
Okay, Orange, Boston Post Road pedestrian section.
I know.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to first thank, and I'll be quick, but I want to first thank for you guys for leaving, Merritt, for all your service, for helping out at the American Legion, Little League, the other events. Bill, I've known for a long time. I coached both the sons in baseball. We coached a few years together in baseball. And Julie and I do load trucks for a food pantry, a food kitchen, every Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve for many, many years. So now she had me handing out 500 t-shirts at the turkey truck the other day.
You're a sucker, I think.
So thanks back at you, Brian, for all you do.
Okay, so I'm here, I was asked to come and talk about the Orange intersection. Some residents from some people from the Rye Neck School program have asked for an RFP at the intersection there. It's not as simple as you would think, and I'll get into that. But first, I wanted to clear up a couple accusations that came across about TPS and the city council. One that Ryan was only looking at doing these things for Rye City schools as opposed to Rye Neck schools, and actually was far from the truth. The latest two that were put up were the ones on the post road at Bradford and Park. The one at Bradford is a result of meetings with Rye Neck parents. Morris Court is located off of Bradford Avenue there, but they are required to go to the Rye Neck schools. Ryan and TPS lived for the last 2 years trying to figure out a solution. Originally, they were supposed to be going through a pathway that goes through into Johnson Place, which then goes into the Rye Neck fields to get to the school. That pathway was never maintained, and so it hasn't been reopened yet. That's one thing. As a committee, we'd like to see one thing. There should have been one other slide on here. This Rye Neck with that is they're in the process of a $20 million bid to redo the fields in back there, so the path could be looked at again. That would be helpful for that area. So the Forest Court, we looked at building a sidewalk like the one we did from Johnson Place to Cornish. There's a hill there, there's wetlands, there's other issues why we couldn't build that. So so that's why we came up with the RFB and the crossing. So they have to cross Post Road, walk, walk towards Hornage and then cross there to get to the school. That's the only way we could put in a sidewalk and a connection. And the RFB that was put in a park was to serve the golf club for all those neighborhoods and trying to walk to the golf course. Neither of them had anything to do with the right schools. And the other issue was said that we ignored this intersection, which we didn't. We get a lot of requests for these RFBs. I won't go into the list that we have up there, but we have requests for 43 more locations in the city for RFPs, and that doesn't include the ones that would go on Forest when the new sidewalks went on Forest. And that doesn't include the Sornish one either. So there's a lot of these requested everywhere. We try to prioritize it as much as we can, and they take them.
I just want to cut to the chase on this too, Brian, not to keep pushing things along, but I'm pushing things along. But where are we headed? What is the TPS done in terms of looking at this, and is there continued work to be done, and what is the timeline that the residents can expect to have our application for TPS?
There's a lot of work to be done. This is a tricky intersection. What it is the crosswalk is that's shown on the aerial. That's the only thing that's in Rye. The intersection itself is in the village of Mamaroneck. The road is under the jurisdiction of New York State DOT. So we have 3 different entities involved right now. The village of Mamaroneck has asked the state DOT to look at a road guide similar to what we did in Rye, and they would look at possibly reducing lanes, doing different things. They hired a consultant that's looking at it right now, including one of the options they were looking at is a roundabout there. They're looking for other things. Since it's a 4-lane section there, or in theory 3.5 lanes, we looked at it and it would require, and both Ryan and I said, based on the regulations, it would require a median within the roundabout because it's 47 feet wide. And RFBs are usually not for 4-lane sections.
So can you just, what I want to do is get to the people who are here about this, that there is a plan to consider some sort of remediation. And I'm not saying you have to know what that answer is now, right? Because obviously it takes the work and like the research and all of these different entities, but like, is that happening? Is TPS undertaking that? Will you guys push it?
We're undertaking it. The city manager's been involved. Ryan's been involved. We've recommended a median there, and real quickly can show the problem with the median is that it interferes with 2 things. This is, I had some of my engineers work at. For a school bus to get in there, cannot go in unless they loop around where the median would have been, and the median would then inhibit the school bus from getting in there properly.
And I don't know for all the things that aren't going to work. All I really want is like I'm not.
Well, I'll explain why this is.
I know it's not easy, but I just want to know that there's like the way path forward.
He said something interesting to me, trying to say. There was this moment when I was doing a lot of walking in this area, Brian, just because so many people were asking me to, where you have Overdale, right? You have all those streets, which is, you just explained beautifully why Bradford is so important with Morris Court. And then you said something really important, which was the path between Rye Neck and the community of residents that live on that side of Boston, that pathway that kids take from the field wasn't maintained. Was that the presumption that all of you worked on, that would help that piece to get the people from Greenhaven over? Because I keep wondering why we don't have one that's 2 blocks down instead of right here. And I know I'm creating problems, so you don't have to answer tonight, but I wanted to make sure we understood there's that space between Bradford and Hornbridge, which could be examined. And you probably have an answer for me, but I just wanted to put it out
can't physically, because it's a topography, put it from there to
Right.
Bradford.
And that's the issue.
And that's why the path was, there is an RFP scheduled to go in at Johnson Place also. We have the same issue there with the median. We have to close, to put a median in there, you're closing one of the left turn lanes. We still need an engineering study to figure out which left turn lane you're gonna close along the post road, whether in Johnson Place or in Marlin Lane.
Okay,
The
okay.
reason it needs a median is because of the width of the road. The state required us to put a median in, because it's 47 feet there over by Old Post Road by the football field. That's 35 feet wide. We had to put a median in there. And then when the county did the one along their pathway, that's about 38 feet wide. They put a median there, and that's for safety purposes. The problem with putting the median, just putting it in, if it was just in Rye, it wouldn't be an issue, but it's a big issue for here because we can't get, the buses will have issues getting in, and that gas station is there, their field trucks would not be able to get in and out of there. So we have to look at, we're looking at whether we make a boundable median or something to that effect or some other.
Ryan, how long is it going to take to pull all these threads together?
So I've been in touch with the Village of Americ's traffic consultant and the state consultant. The state asked us basically not to do anything until they figure out what they're going to do. Because anything we do, if we put the median in, it goes into state right away, which means you need a highway work permit, which generally takes 6 months to a year to get.
So we don't want to cross swords with state DOT, is that who it is?
Yes, they've asked us. So their schedule is, they have a public meeting in June, the next public meeting is in either February or March, they haven't said it yet, and they still don't have funding for their project, so, it could be a while till their project goes along.
Okay, so we can't move on what we would think of doing until state DOT says to us, or comes to some understanding with us of how to handle the intersection.
If we were trying to, if we put in what we want to put in, no, we can't move it, so that's why we're looking at, Ryan and I have been looking at other options and seeing what we can do. It's just we have a lot of conflicts here with the gas station and
So
such.
the bottom line is this is more complicated than it looks. You guys are working on it, and can we get a report back after you've heard from DOT, after they've met? I'm assuming you met from her.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've also been in contact with my liaisons at DOT to let them know the urgency we have for improving the safety here.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
Brian, I would just say, sorry that you're kind of being rushed through this. It makes sense that the traffic and safety committee should go through it in detail. I know a lot of residents were concerned and really want these back, so I would suggest that,
Yeah, we're taking it seriously. Our last meeting, Commissioner Kobe was on with us, the traffic sergeant, Sergeant Heinrichs from the police department, as well as the traffic officers.
I know you guys are taking
Officer Calhoun, he was on it, you know.
I'm just saying, if,
we
let's get the information that people, maybe you're on the time tonight, but,
And
I appreciate you preparing, like, how all this.
The other thing, real quick, there is a crossing guard at the intersection during pickup and drop off. The issue is after school activities and such. We're trying to get a count of how many people are actually crossing at the time. If we go back to other aerial, it's only 200 feet from here to the signalized intersection at Greenhaven Sterling, which has crosswalks. That was where the old crossing was.
Is that where the accident happened with the child?
No. That's further up another half mile or so, at another signalized center. But that was a 19-year-old, it wasn't a child. So, over to Sun Drive. So this is where the crossing was. The crossing guard that's there, it actually wasn't there for crossing purposes. There's a long story behind why there's actually a police officer there. We don't need to get into it.
I appreciate all the work. I know it's so much to organize. Thank you. I just want to make sure that we get folks
Yeah.
answers and, but you're on it. Thank you.
Diana Riley?
Hi, Diana Riley, co-chair of Rye Neck School. I just want to clarify a couple things. So first of all, there are two issues here. There's the Johnson-Barlow crosswalk, and there was a request for that crosswalk back in 2023 from what I understand. So I'm not going to speak about that because I wasn't the individual in Safe Routes to School who were the group that actually asked for this, that crosswalk. We are supportive of what they're asking for. Allison Keaton is the individual who's been in touch with TDS about it. So I will leave it, she's been waiting for information, so I will leave it up to TDS to communicate with Allison Keaton about that. But I do want to clarify one thing. And then what was confusion, I really appreciate. Yeah, there are two separate issues. I mean, they're both crosswalks, Rye Neck students are both in the area, but two separate issues. I do want to clarify though, as far as Johnson Barlow is concerned, and what's happening with the Rye Neck fields, as I understand it, our school board has been allowed to start discussing a bond. Nothing has been approved. If that bond goes through, it's not going to be until 2028 to 2029 that any sort of construction will take place. So that's just as far as Barlow and Johnson is concerned. Again, I'm putting that to the side for now. Now, as far as the Hornish crosswalk is concerned, I want to clarify, and I spoke with Elaine Ju of AKR, who I know Mr. Dempsey has also spoken with, and she gave me permission to state that some of the conversations that I believe have taken place have been a little bit misinterpreted. From what Elaine has let me know, they actually believe, she's not hired by anybody, she's not representing the DOM, she, it's just informal conversations. But from her traffic consultant perspective, it is possible to put in an RRFB and a median there. And it should be possible to put in a median that can be mountable kind of ways. Again, I'm not an engineer, I'm not interested like you guys are. But my understanding is that there should be the possibility to work to create an RRFB and the median there. And this first one I'm hearing about school buses not being able to go in there. Elaine had let me know that she didn't think it was an issue for fire trucks or any sort of large vehicles. So my main point is that there are conversations going on. They're being interpreted in two completely different ways. And maybe it would be good for individuals to come in the room and have transparency and clarity so that we can hear various opinions and come to conclusions together.
Can I ask you one question?
You can stop that just for 1 second.
Yeah, you finished and then I'll ask you a question. You'll have more time. Don't worry. How much is the Rye Neck schools involved in your traffic and safety conversations?
They're very much involved. We, Safe Routes to Schools, did a survey at the end of last year. And Boston Post Road is one of the major concerns, which is why we've been working with Shelley Mayor's office and the DOT to create improvements across all of Boston Post Road. We ideally wanted and this is what I'm saying is that we're getting community input about the fact that it's a huge issue. I can show you survey results. So there are 770 students that go to the Night School High School. 106 of them are Rye residents, tax-paying families. So that's about 50%. It's not a significant number of students who care about this. We initially were asking the DOT for a school zone there to try and traffic calm. Unfortunately, according to rules, it's not possible to do a school zone there because the school is not actually on Route 1. This is why I started talking about how do we crosswalk. What are the minor improvements that we can implement in order to kind of solve some of these issues? I also want to note that we've had conversations with the DOT, Chris Hahn in particular. I'm not sure who the individuals are talking with, but I can name Chris Hahn. He had told a colleague of mine, and at this point, this is a little bit, I did not hear this directly, but I heard it from one of our Safe Routes individuals, that he believed RRSB would be possible there even without a median. We are personally for the RRSB and the median, but we're hearing, again, through conversations that they believe that a flashing beacon
options I've not heard from anyone, so won't be surprised if they're not considered. But I think they should be. I am concerned about the last minute increase in the budget to hire one extra police officer and a fireman. This expansion of the city workforce was not in the original budget, and we've not received, I think, enough information to really understand why it's needed. I think there should be more rigor around this. Once we hire these positions, they're going to be with us, and we won't be getting rid of them. I believe if these positions need to be filled, we do need more information. Taxes, as we know them, only go up, they never go down. Next year's tax increase will be built on this year's, and so on and so on. Happens every year. I believe it's the council's most important job to keep taxes as low as possible. And so I'm against adding one police and one fireman for now. That's something that could be considered perhaps next year with the new council, where there's more information. We haven't heard from Commissioner Copley on this issue. So I'm against that. I'm also would like, I think we could get the tax increase down, as I argued in the last meeting, down to closer to 5.7% or 6%. And I'd be for that. So that's my position on this.
I'd just like to speak to the police and fire situation. Back in April, we got a report from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services that showed that our police department was understaffed. And in fact, with respect to patrol, that we have now 24 on patrol, I think the DCJS report was saying we should have 32.
Right.
And I know Brian had sent that report to another agency to check, but I don't think our expectation was going to be that they were going to say our current staffing was acceptable as is. So just on the DCJS report and your information from Commissioner Copley, I think the additional police officer is needed. The additional firefighter, and I would again suggest too, it represents a continuum of hiring that the city has been undertaking since 2018 with the goal of moving to a career firefighting force. That is, when I became mayor, there was still an active volunteer corps that showed up with some consistency. And that fell off quickly over the years with the increased training burden that volunteers have to bear. And with the loss essentially of volunteer leadership, because none of the volunteers were able to take on the greater training burden of being officers in a volunteer fire department. So we started a conversion process. It's been very slow. I think people have pointed out tonight the fact that sometimes there are shortcomings in service, despite the fact that we have planned very well and staffed very well around our essentially fundamentally constrained staffing. So I'd like to see us continue taking that step forward. And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Commissioner Copley is entirely supportive.
Then that's correct, and you did acknowledge the need for additional staff in the public workshops. And certainly my predecessor acknowledged the need for additional staffing in both departments as recently as his last budget letter.
So this would be what I say. I want to move forward with the budget that is proposed in front of us, and I put to my colleagues who will be continuing this position to continue the work of adding. I'm not in favor of necessarily adding now,
take first steps, that we know we're going to have to take steps. We know what they're probably going to look like. They might be a little bit different. I don't know. We'll drill into it, but at least we have the funds to take those steps. And I'm in favor of the budget that is currently recommended. That you. So I second your motion, Jill.
Thank you.
There you go.
So all in favor to close the budget, the hearing?
Oh, no.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make the motion to adopt the city budget.
I'll second. Roll call, please.
Wait, what?
Oh, do we need a recap or we need rates or are we good?
Oh, it's two cent, it's, yeah, I mean, it's at the.
Just stayed all this time.
Let's just
I
say.
I'd rather
That'd be
not.
a good idea. I'd rather not.
I think it's important to make it clear.
Yeah,
I'll be quick.
it's 8.78%.
Correct.
Yes. So,
You're adopting a tax rate of $232.17 per thousand assessed value. Increase of $461 or $30 per month for the average home property. Property tax levy of $34,075,476 for the property tax levy. Pretty much the important information that you already read out. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
thanks, sir.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Kenny,
Yes.
Councilman Henderson,
No.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Egan,
Yes.
Councilman Souza,
Yes.
Councilman Ward,
Yes.
Mayor Combs.
Yes. Okay, so we need a resolution authorizing the city controller to make necessary year-end closing transfers.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Okay. Old bids, new bids.
A little bit. Sorry. Really will be really quick. To our retiring council members and retiring mayor, thank you for your service. Julie and Josh, thank you for all you've done for years. We heard a lot of what you've done detailed here. There's a lot more to it. I appreciate all that work. I know when I was a resident, didn't really know you. It wasn't particularly paying that much attention, but very much my family and many others very much appreciated your incredible leadership during COVID. It was very meaningful to the community. Since coming on the council, you've advanced many other things. It was a lot more about the work you've done. Thank you very much for that. And I hope, as Mayor French said, when you walk around Rye, you take pride in the work that you've done. You feel joy in our community and knowing how much you were a part of it. And that will endure for many, many years to come, and for many people that don't know you or don't know us. And please enjoy that. Bill, thank you for your service. And I did have those comments, but I'll add this. You have been a terrific partner in governance. You are the embodiment of integrity and the consummate gentleman and great friends, and I value that tremendously. As I look ahead, I want you to know I will be better at what I do because of my friendship and knowing you. And the city will be better for that as well. And I'm very grateful, and I know many others are. You are among the finest people I know and the finest in Rye. Josh, Julie, and Bill, the work goes on from here. And you have laid an amazing foundation on top of the foundation of the councils and mayors before you, and it's our job to carry on and continue the good work. We have quite a day one laundry list as we listen to folks this evening, all things that you've been working on and things that we will continue. And I thank you, and look, we're staying, look forward to doing that. We have some parting gifts that the council has arranged without violating the open meeting laws. Thank you, Brian, for intuiting our desire. And if you want to share them out.
So there's which of you are getting an honorary suicide on
to rush here, but I want to thank Julie and Mayor for your service. 8 years is a long time. I want to thank my family, particularly my wife Beth, for putting up with my late life political career. Luckily for them, it's only 4 years and not 8. It's also been a pleasure to work with our great city employees, Greg Ustry, Brian, Christian Miller, Ryan Point, Rosa, to name just a few. These are the people that really run the city, not people up here, and they are really the best, and they need to be appreciated because they are. One thing I've really learned is it's been a real pleasure to work with you all, and so thank you for your service to the city. Good luck to Josh, Nathan, James, and Jamie, and Keith. I wish you all and the new council members all the best, and your success will be my success. So thank you, and thank you for your kind words, Josh.
So I'm going to be very brief. I have, in 8 years, never had a prepared statement, and I'm not going to start now. So I'm just going to say a few things in parting. Oh gosh, I got emotional today. First, thank you to the Rye community for electing me to serve you. I try to do it with thoughtfulness, with diligence, consideration. The times that I fell short, I apologize. I can tell you that my intent was always good. I want to thank city staff. I did write people's names because I'll die if I forget somebody. Commissioner Kobe, Chris, Rodrigo, Yuka, Nicole, Christian, Ryan, Kristen, Joe, Aaron, John, Nova, Keelan, Carolyn before you, and everybody in your departments. Rise in very good hands. And I agree with your sentiment, Bill. It is not what we do up here, but what you do every day for Rye, and you make Rye a wonderful place to live. So thank you. To my fellow volunteers on committees and commissions, I had the great privilege of serving as a liaison to the Chamber of Commerce, Tony Koesch, Liz Woods, and Brian Jackson, leading that organization, Human Rights Commission, Rita Kapik, and she's a wonderful asset to this community. The wonderful Rick McCabe and the Rye Rec Commission worked so hard